Hi there, and welcome to the Lois Strachan YouTube channel. I'm Lois, and this is going to be another video in the behind the scenes series about my writing and publishing and marketing the books that I have written. This one is going to be about my memoir, A Different Way of Seeing, a blind woman's journey of living an ordinary life in an extraordinary way. And what I'm going to be talking about today is the decision to write and then not write updates to the original book. So my journey with A Different Way of Seeing really goes back to 2015 when I started writing the first draft of the book. In a previous video in this series, I've spoken about kind of the writing of that book and how it took me only 7 weeks to write and so on and so forth, and then 17 months to finish or to publish the book. And I guess it's that factor, the fact that it took me so long to go from the writing of the first draft to the publishing of the book, that is really going to play a role in what I'm talking about today. So over that 17 months when I was learning about the publishing industry, editing, rewriting, and eventually publishing and marketing the book, so much changed in my life, in the way I was doing things, what I was doing, how I was doing things, what I was able to do. And that really was what prompted me to look at republishing, doing a second edition of the book, because I was learning so much about the technology that was available, and I felt that so much had changed from when I first sat down to write the book to when I actually published it. And then in the first year or two after I published the book, that it warranted an updated version of the book, a second edition. So in 2019, when I started rewriting or adding to the book, there was a lot for me to talk about. Just to give you a couple of simple examples, I had started working with a new guide dog. And from 2015, I had not really started working with Fiji. I was partnered with her in 2016, shortly before I launched the book. She wasn't in the book initially when I published it. But now I was going out and marketing the book with a brand new guide dog who wasn't in that book. Also, in the book, I spoke about the technology that I use, and a lot of the technology that I was using had changed by the time that I had brought out the book. And suddenly I found I was saying, I know in the book it says that I can't do this, but now I can. Things like getting images described, things like using technology as a way to help me navigate around in the world. I wasn't doing those back in 2015. By 2017, I was. And that was really why I sat down in 2019 to do the second edition. That came out in 2020, and it was really great to see the updated book. Just before I published the second edition, my husband said to me, yeah, but life is constantly changing. You're constantly learning and growing and able to do new things. Every few years, are you going to continue updating the book? And at the time I sat down and said, no, I'm not. And I still stand by that decision, because when I published the second edition in 2020, I didn't leave, go out of that book thinking, but so much has changed already that I don't feel this is complete. I came out of it, thinking this is a good place to stop. And I think that still holds true. In a way, I suppose I can say that I closed the chapter on a different way of seeing. And I know that, yes, things will continue to change. The tools I'm using, the skills I have. I mean, for goodness sake, I have another new guide dog now in 2026, Normandy. Am I going to go back and add to different way of seeing because he needs a chapter of his own? No, I'm not. If I do write something about Normandy, it will be an entirely separate thing. So I guess what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is this. I started writing in 2015. I published in 2016. And a lot had changed during that time. A lot continued to change. And in 2019, when I took the decision to upgrade the original book, I had a lot of content. So that was what formed the basis of the second edition of A Different Way of Seeing, which was published in 2020. Now in 2026, I'm still okay with what is included in that book, the second edition of A Different Way of Seeing. And I'm okay to have left it with where I was in 2020. Yes, I continue to write about what are the new tools and things that I'm using. And I will always do that on my blog. Will I someday decide that there's time for a third edition of A Different Way of Seeing? I don't think so. I think I'm comfortable with what I wrote in the second edition, and it leaves me with a good benchmark of where my life was in 2020 when I published the second edition. So any new changes, any changes since then will probably be in a completely different format of my writing and the things that I'm doing. But it won't be in another version of A Different Way of Seeing. And for those of you who want to see the cover of the book, who want to learn more about it, there it is. And for those who can't see that, I just held up a copy of the book, which is A Different Way of Seeing, A Blind Woman's Journey of Living an Ordinary Life in an Extraordinary Way by Lois Strachan. And it has a picture of myself and my guide dog, Fiji, on the cover. It's available on Amazon or it's available on my website, loisstrachan.com. That's LOISSTRACHAN.com, loisstrachan.com. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'd love to answer and help to explain more about what I've said in this video. Otherwise, have a look around at some of the other videos, and, well, thanks for joining me on this version or this video in the behind the scenes videos. I will see you next time.